This video, I basically want to give a brief little introduction to the kind of epistemology which is called internalism. Well, really, I'm talking about mostly the 20th century, 21st century. That's the primary thing I want to be into and kind of discuss, factors of this and, go over that a little bit. But this has been something that has, of course, been in, different forms in lots of the history of philosophy. My aim here is not really to go over all those historical things, but to talk about internalism and what all that stuff is. First of all, epistemology. We're talking about justification, and we're talking about knowledge and truth. Of course, but it's a lot about this. Justification is, if I have a certain belief, that belief has to be justified. And epistemology is about the structure of that justification and how all that works out, and what knowledge is, and what justified true belief is, and how that relates to knowledge, and all that stuff. And it also relates to philosophy of science as to how we can gain more knowledge. And philosophy really is about knowledge. It's about wonder. But first of all, internalism contrasts with externalism. And internalism is basically when we're talking about the justification of our beliefs. The justification of our beliefs is internal if we either have cognitive access to it. That's one way. It's normally looked at as this way. It's normally internalism is thought of as this, accessibilism. There's actually two forms of it, and to read about that little thing, you can see Connie and Feldman, and they have an article together which kind of breaks these two things apart, because most of epistemology, when they talk about internalism, they think about accessibilism. But mentalism is a different way to look at it. And Connie and Feldman, they think of this as a better way to look at it, as a better way to argue for internalism. And following their little clarification here, they defend internalism. Accessibilism, this is pretty much the mostly accepted way of thinking about internalism, and that's that we have cognitive access of the justification of our beliefs. So if I have a belief that the New Orleans Saints are going to win the Super Bowl next year, the justification of that belief and all the beliefs around it, whether I'm a foundationalist or a coherentist, it's all, I have cognitive access to why I think that. I have cognitive access to the beliefs that justify my belief in that. So it's, in accessibilism, it's about cognitive access. That's the key word, and it is mostly thought of as that this is the key word when thinking about internalism at all. Connie and Feldman, Earl Connie and Richard Feldman, kind of talk about what is mentalism. Mentalism is that our beliefs are justified by current mental factors or dispositions, and that certain mental things, current mental factors can possibly be justification of our beliefs, and it's not about having cognitive access, but it's having current mental factors that we are aware of, which is an issue of awareness, which is something that's a kind of an important word, awareness, of the justification of our beliefs. That's mostly what we're talking about. Now, there are a lot of them. Now I'm doing these little intro videos, these branch to these kind of theories of epistemology, because there are a lot of articles that I want to get into and go into pretty well, that is in contemporary epistemology, and I think that it'll be I'll feel better doing that. I'll feel better going to their article more in depth, and the articles of others having done this little brief intro. Internalism is contrasted with externalism, and externalism is that we do not have cognitive access. We do not have it. We don't have cognitive access to the justification of our beliefs. They argue either that it's not necessary or it's not possible to have cognitive access. Now, there's various forms of this. There's people like Alvin Goldman, who have a historical or genetic theory for process reliabilism. In what reliabilism we have and I'm talking about this is just two possible things. We have process reliabilism and virtue reliabilism. Process reliabilism, like I said, Alvin Goldman. Virtue reliabilism, John Greco would be a good one to read. But process reliabilism, it's that a belief is justified because it is formed by a reliable belief-forming process that doesn't violate epistemic duties, and it doesn't, and it's rational and such. And then virtue is that it's a reliable virtues of belief forming, and that's the whole other thing. Virtue epistemology is a good one to look at. Next, you can have combinations. You can be a foundationalist internalist. You can be a coherentist in internalist. You can be a foundationalist externalist or a coherentist externalist. You can have combos of these, but and there are many, but you have to make your case as to why that is. You have to, and there are people who are skeptics and say that there is no any kind of combination of knowledge or of justification. But mostly, if someone is externalist or internalist, they will espouse one of these two, and they will talk about, because these are about the structure of knowledge or the structure of justification and beliefs. This is more about structure and solving the regress problem, which is something I've talked about. The regress problem is for any belief that we have to have a justification for it. Like I said here, we have a meta belief which will justify that belief. But for this belief to be justified, we have to have a further meta belief. And if this belief isn't justified, then this one isn't either. And on we go into infinity. And that's why they call it a regress. And these two, along with infinitism, I should put infinitism there as well. I'm not familiar with how. I guess I've been recently exposed to the infinitists, like Klein, so I'm not sure how this all comes together, but hopefully I can kind of get into that a little. But these deal with the regress problem as well as the Getty problem in different ways. The internalism and externalism, they're just about as, the way in which beliefs are justified, our awareness of our justifications, and such. It's more about these two are just more about the way justification is itself and how it works. Gettier problem, that is something by Edmund Gettier, who had an article in Analysis, which was a journal, which still is a journal of like really short papers that they publish. Gettier and his little examples question is justified true belief knowledge. So if I have a belief that is justified and it's true, does that make it knowledge? And he had a couple examples, or a couple of cases which went against this thing, because before Gettier, it was granted that justified true belief is knowledge. And these two, along with these two talk about, what knowledge is and how, the reliable belief forming processes of the externalists and such. They're talking about what knowledge is and what justification is, and these are more about the whole structure of it and solving this problem. But anyway, this is a very brief little thing, and I plan on going more in depth with more articles with more articles in contemporary epistemology. And to read about internalism, I would recommend, of course, Connie and Feldman. Let's see here, Lawrence Bonger, who has an awesome refutation of externalism. This little clairvoyance, he has a little bunch of cases of clairvoyance. A clairvoyant is like a psychic who comes to believe something and he doesn't know how he came by it. This is, he's talking about how it's a reliable belief forming process and all that stuff, but it's still not justified true belief, even though it is a reliable belief forming process. So he argues for internalism. And there's people like William Alston, and there's others as well. There are a lot more beyond that. And that's probably what I'll say right now. If you think I've messed something up, or if you think I've left something very important out in a little intro to internalism, please comment below. Or if you want to have a little discussion, or if you have a question, also comment below. I'd love to discuss with you. Thank you.